Hey guys, so I'm in the Monte Carlo. This is going to be a pretty short video. It is about blend door motors. So blend door motors, what they do is when you have your hot and your cold, which I have dual zone here, so I have passenger side and driver side, doesn't matter. These ones have usually two of them. And if you have a single zone, which is just when you have one knob or one dial, that's a single zone and it has one motor usually. But sometimes they can have two. I'm not positive on this, but they can have more than one. I'm not going to say that they don't, but so basically what was happening is in October, I was getting cold air out of the vents because it was summertime, and once October hit, I wanted it to warm up a little bit, so I had to go to work at 5 in the morning, and it's pretty cold sometimes. So I went to turn my heat up, so I turned the dial on this side up. This side I turned up also. So passenger side, this vent and that vent went to hot. This vent and that vent stayed cold even though I had that on hot, which meant my blend door motor was locked up. So you can replace them, which they're a pain because they're behind the radio, and usually they have stuff around them that you can barely get the bolt out. I replaced one of my 2008 F-150 and it was a pain. You literally barely had finger room to turn the screw on one of them because it lifts up and then it hits a metal bar and you have to like get it out of there just perfectly, and it is even harder to put it back in. So this one on the Monte Carlo, you take off this panel right here underneath the steering wheel, so it'll be under here. You take that off. There's like 4 bolts, I think, and then there's a metal plate underneath it that's about the same shape and same size. You take that off too. Once you remove both of those, you can reach in behind the radio, and there is it's a canister. It's actually electric motor or servo that has like a metal or plastic casing around it. It's in plastic. And what you can do is you can take like the butt end of a screwdriver, like the handle, and when you're moving, you can either move this back and forth while you're doing it, or you can just move it into whatever the opposite is of what it's on. So like if it was putting out cold air and I wanted it hot, I would put this on hot and I would tap that with the handle. Somewhat hard, not like, trying to break it, but just enough to rattle it. Sometimes what happens is there is resistance on the gears in there. So if you tap it, it releases that resistance and it makes it move again. So this one, I mean, it's to replace them. I think the motor from my F-150 was like 60 something bucks 10 years ago. And I don't know if they're higher than that for GMs. I'm not even sure. But like I said, they're a pain to get to. So just try that. If it works, it works. This one actually did work. All winter I left this on hot because I was afraid it wouldn't work if I turned it back down. So because I leave for work at 5 in the morning, so I was trying to get it to warm up my car. This side worked fine. This side didn't. So once I got it to work, I left it there, and all winter. So even if we had a warm day, like a 70 degree day in like December, I left it on hot on here. I just rolled down my window and I put this one on cold because this side still worked. So this side would be cold, this side was hot. It kind of evened out a bit, but I also rolled down my window if I needed to. And then on top of that, once I got it to work, now it's spring, it's May, it's 75 degrees outside right now, so I turned that down to cold and it worked fine. So it's on full cold right now. If I turn on the AC, it's cold. If I put it on vent, it brings in the vented air, the air from outside. So I am not moving that anymore. But what I did in the process, though, is every 2 days, when it was warming up a bit, I moved that 2 notches down. Just so I wouldn't be insanely hot if it was hot. And if it was still on warm, I could deal with the warm air on a cold day. I could still deal with that. But because I can put on a coat or something. But every couple of days I lowered that down until it got down to full cold, and by then it was hot days. So and we're back in 70s and 80s and stuff now. So to have that on full cold is great. So far that I know, it works fine. I'm not going to mess with it because it didn't work last time. But if I still have this car in the fall, I'll try to put it on hot again and see what happens. But let's try that. It's not a pain to get back there, but it's a pain to replace them. So try that first. It took me like 15-20 minutes for it to actually work, back and forth, moving the dial and also tapping on that, and it finally worked. So try that. It can save you money, or at least extend the time that you have to pay for it. So But if you have any questions or comments, I am not a mechanic. I do know a little bit, so I do know I can tell you at least somewhat what it looks like. Like I did in the video, but I can go a little bit more in depth, I guess, if I take this all apart. But it won't be the same unless you have a Monte Carlo and an Impala. I know other cars are similar, like the Pontiac Grand Prix and the Buick LeSabre and Buick Regal and stuff like that, from the 2000s. I think the Regal. But either way, they're all very similar. They're all, I want to say most of them are behind the radio, and they're a pain. So, but if you have any questions, comments, leave them down below, and like and subscribe if you would like. Thanks.